Hey, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today we're taking a closer look at OrcaSlicer 2.3.2, the release candidate number 2, and we're going to look at bridging and flow. So let's go ahead and get started. With previous versions of OrcaSlicer and probably any slicer in general, no matter how much tuning you do, you'd periodically get things like this where this bridge causes sagging and this part looks 3D printed. I mean, you can see the area sag there. The filament's really loose. There's actually a little bulge here where this is sagging in. In this printed block, I've run resonance compensation, but still the exterior finish doesn't look perfect to me. The corners are bulging a little bit too much. And even though I've tried to tune everything and fix everything, still these look 3D printed. Now, with that being said, there's some new features in the latest release candidate of OrcaSlicer 2.3.2 that try to address some of these issues via software tweaks in the slicer. So let's go ahead and take a look. So as you can see from the release notes here, you can now change the flow ratio pretty much for almost every structure throughout the print. So instead of having just one flow rate set, you now have the ability to go through and set this across the whole model, depending on whether it's the first layer, outer walls, inner walls, just about everything. Now, what I will point out is by default, it starts at 1. In the case of my printer, I had it set at 0.98. So I basically had to compare flow rates and then check to change everything. Let's go over and take a look at OrcaSlicer. And I'm printing something for my K2 Plus for a future video. So that's what this is over here. So if you go over to quality and then you scroll down to the walls and surfaces section, you'll see this checkbox, set other flow ratios. As I mentioned, I have mine set for my printer 0.98, but it defaults to 1. Now, in the case of that ripple effect, you can literally tune that flow for that outer wall to get it to do what you want. In my case, I tried lowering the flow, and I think the surface looks a little bit better on the new print. And that's particularly helpful for prints with thin walls. And as I said, you can change it for pretty much every structure in the print. So if I switch over my camera, here is my original block. You can see that wavy interface. Now here's the new block. You notice the faces of the new block where I've adjusted the flow look better, or at least I believe, than the surface of the unadjusted one flow fits all. Now I'm thinking too, these corners are a little bit sharper on that outer wall, because again, I'm not using as much filament. And I can't really tell, but I can tell a difference in that wavy texture. And so, again, pretty neat feature, helps me make the prints look better. And I'm just going to point out real quick that there is some changes on how it's doing infill. I can't really tell a difference here, just looking at these two models, but I just wanted to point that out. Now, let's switch over and just take a look at bridging. Now, one of the cool new features, I think, and something I've never really tuned that much for, would be bridging. We look at these images. One of the cool new features is higher density for better bridging surfaces. Now, I've never really particularly tuned for bridging. If we look at these models and this new setting, what it basically lets you do is the lines in between the bridge makes them denser, closer together. Now, I used this model to help with this and to do some testing. Now, one thing I did notice was this model gives basically a different explanation of what to do as compared to OrcaSlicer, so I sort of tried both methods just to see what would happen. So let's go over and take a look at my prints. To start off, this is my original print. This is with no tuning for bridging. You'll notice there's basically almost a hole here in the top of this layer. You'll notice the lines here are, in some cases, far apart, and they're not really stuck together. Now, in the case of the new OrcaSlicer settings, you'll see this top is solid. Now, there is still some spacing here, but I think these are much tighter than they were. Now, I still need to do some tuning with this. I think I need to go with a lower flow rate. We go over and look at OrcaSlicer. It says to use a low flow rate, higher density. And I did just a density or a flow rate of 1 on this one. And I think I needed to go lower. So I need to test that a little bit. But I will say this top surface looks really good. And if you look closely here at the one, I think that's just a little bit of discoloration as opposed to it actually poking through. Now, number 2, I think the top surface to me looks pretty awful. The bottom, maybe this is definitely, I guess, more stuck together. No, I went with a higher flow rate here, which is different than what it says in the release notes. Again, that says lower rates, but if I go to this unsupported bridge explanation, they're talking about a higher flow rate. So there's a higher flow rate here. Now, I think probably I'm just going to need to play around with this some to see what I need to do, but I really don't like the top surface of this. Now, this model, this last one, I went with a higher density in here with the lower flow rate. And I think maybe the top surface, really can't tell which one of these I like better. I think there's more discoloration here than here. But it does seem that these are more solid here, the bridging underneath. Again, I still have some more tuning to do and some more experimentation. I probably need to drop that flow rate and see what that does. But again, this is a pretty neat feature. Now, if you're interested in the bridging tests, I'll link to this model on Maker World so you can give it a try for yourself. In my next video, I'm going to take a look at the new ironing settings in OrcaSlicer, as well as some of the changes to fuzzy skin. So if you have any questions or comments, or there's something else you'd like to see, please just leave a comment. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Have a good night.